Welcome to Young Proud Educators EdTech first day, where we speak everything technology with the people that are just in there and in the face and the forefront of technology and just making big changes. So excited to have you. Your work is amazing. I've read your
I
article
appreciate that.
and I've seen your work, your LinkedIn, your passion on technology and education. It's amazing. So that's why
I appreciate that, bro.
that's why we decided to invite you so we can have a chat about education, about edtech, because I think the two always
Okay, yeah.
go together. But usually when we invite people, we then ask them to introduce themselves. But we do it slightly different.
Okay.
We ask them what's their story, because we believe that each and everyone has a story to tell, and your story is linked
Okay.
to the next person. For instance, whatever that's happening to you now, it's going to happen in 10 years, 50 years time, it's going to happen to somebody. And if you go back 10, 50 years, it happened to somebody. So it's a more of connection. So if we share, we believe that if we share our stories, then we can connect with one another and inspire one another to become better. So,
Definitely.
John,
Yeah.
what's your story, man? Who's John? I know that's a very damn difficult question to ask
Yeah,
somebody.
man.
Like
It's a
when you,
deep question. It's a deep question, man. It has me thinking. Well, basically,
yeah,
John is my English name. As you know, ke Ntwana Motswana.
thank you, thank you.
Originally from Northwest,
Yeah,
born and raised Sing, and then we moved to Mafikeng
yeah,
a little bit later. And then I moved around. I moved around a bit, Bloemfontein, Rustenburg, Potchefstroom. I've been around a bit. But basically, I was always I don't know how to explain myself, but more so I was just always a curious child.
okay,
I'll ask you a million questions, and that's how I've been since I was a child. And then basically that's kind of how I got into technology, just being curious about everything.
yeah,
So when I was about 7 or 8 years old, we were living in Itsoseng in Zone 2,
sure.
and then I saw this advertisement on TV. It was that of a toy laptop, the one that they used to sell at ShopRite. Those ones that used to cost
Yeah, I remember those. I remember.
199 rand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember
so
those.
I used to see those types of technologies, and I was super fascinated. But
Yeah,
I always knew that my mother couldn't afford to
yeah,
buy me anything that far. I'm a child of
yeah.
a single parent, so what I did was I found a box, a box of eggs, this big box that used to put like trays of eggs,
Yeah,
and
about
I
like
cut it down.
60 eggs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. You
yeah,
know it.
yeah, yeah.
Like you would expect a Mahali's boy to know it. But
Definitely.
so I bought we got that box and I chopped it down. And what I did eventually with it, I created a cardboard laptop. So it was like a laptop type of cardboard, used to open and close. It had buttons and everything. And I drew on the screen, and then the screen, I drew it on with a pencil. And whenever I wanted a certain visual on my laptop, I erased the drawing and I drew what I wanted to see on the screen. So it was
That's
kind of like a
innovative.
night.
That was
Yeah, man.
innovative.
That definitely was like kind of like
8 year
a
old.
naive way of looking at technology, but it kind of started there. And
Yeah,
then in
yeah,
my 12th grade, I had this problem of, digital learning. Well, actually, it didn't start off like that. I was just in classroom 12th grade. I
yeah.
used to go to school on weekends. And I used to think to myself, why am I coming to school on weekends? But I want to learn. It was kind of a weird thing. I was in 11th grade, 12th grade. So
Yeah,
I want to be out there playing, but at the same time, I wanted to learn on the weekends.
yeah,
So I was like, why can't I access education on weekends? And that's kind of how
yeah,
the idea of Qlick Education started up.
yeah.
So basically, I was kind of led into this whole ICT thing through, digital
Curiosity.
learning. Yeah, and just being curious about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's how I got into it.
yeah. I think that's how most of us got into to technology, to ICT. Same thing with me. Like you see something and you're like, I can create that. And the first thing is I cannot afford it, but I think I can
Yeah,
create it. Then what can I do? What do I have that I can put together to give me something that looks like that? I know it's not gonna have exactly the same
exactly.
things, but it's gonna give me an idea of how that thing might work out. Um,
Well, but is I think, and that's kind of what makes what we're creating very special and very unique.
Definitely.
Because a lot of the type of solutions that we create, they are more nuanced over the African child's problem.
Sure.
The problems of a person who can't afford, and that's a lot of us in the world who can't afford a lot of what we want. So a lot of the solutions that we create, not just me, but you and everybody who's in our
Yeah.
position, always comes up to be solutions that are nuanced around our struggles and what we needed to overcome. So how I create a laptop using cardboard material. My dream is one day that I could be able to create my own like physical laptop brand or
Sure.
something of that nature.
And
But
it's
I
all possible,
understand,
eh? It's all
yeah, it
possible.
is. It is. But I understand that for me to dream that way, it started with me
Yeah.
fiddling with a cardboard and creating something like that.
Yeah.
But like you say, your stories also ties into things like that, man.
Sure. Sure. It's fascinating. In fact, I wonder why a whole lot of us are looking at poverty negatively. Because you see, poverty, it depends on how you look at it. It's mainly your attitude. Look at most people who are from poverty, like most people who are rich now, wealth, they from poverty, and when they tell their stories are fascinating,
Yeah,
and and
definitely.
and it's all attitude.
And that's the thing about it is with some people it depends. Other people it does well for them.
Yeah,
Other people not so much. But you know, uh, the obvious fact is that one shouldn't be subjected to suffering that much or any sort of struggle just to be able to progress.
that's very
You know,
true.
there should be a way that we should be able to empower and teach,
Yeah,
the younger ones to actually do better
yeah,
without having to subject them to the same struggles. A lot of things in life progress, and that's also the way we teach. That's kind of what made me fascinated about education as well, is
yeah.
that in my life, I've had teachers who were just teachers. They didn't really make much of an impact other than telling me to sit down inside the classroom. And then
And
there
be
were other
quiet.
teachers, yeah, keep quiet, write the noisemakers. You're on the list, so turn around, grab the table there, and then you have to count down in the pain. Yo, hey, sometimes I think that a lot of the younger ones don't know how good they have it. When you came to school and you didn't do your homework, you got 15 lashes and 15 of the best. But now it's a little bit better. But
Yeah,
anyway, as I was saying, it starts becoming a thing of actually creating solutions that can actually work for us. And I think that perception, it really is that something that we can teach the younger ones without having to make them struggle. We have
yeah.
to kind of find better ways to teach. Like I say, educators are kind of form a very important part of that.
Yeah, I think you're touching on a very important point: education and how we are taught in our schools. And for instance, you just mentioned a very. I laugh because I went through the same system, and I laugh because I see same teachers now in 2021 still
Yo,
doing the same thing. And you're like, then
unbelievable.
you're like, are we ever gonna get a change in education? Are we gonna see teachers teaching differently, teaching for not and again I hear a lot of teachers talking 21st century, 21st century. I think, man, we've been in 21st century for quite a long time. We should be speaking the next century instead of this one. But
Well,
but
we're
what's
actually in the 22nd century now, if you actually think about it.
yeah,
Things are moving really fast. If you're still thinking we're in 2021, you're slow, because a lot
yeah,
of people now, even myself, I've went beyond now thinking of the next 12 months to now
definitely,
saying that, okay, how do I want to structure myself and my
yeah,
work
yeah,
within the next 3 to 5 years, within the next 5 to 10 years, and now you got to think that there's other people as well who are thinking beyond just 2021, and
yeah,
teachers also need to make that change, because what's happening now is technology and these algorithms that come within these softwares are really taking up a lot of work, primarily because a lot of work has been standardized.
yeah,
But if you want your job, you want your work to actually have a future, it has to be dynamic. It has to be creative. It really has to have a sense of you. And if you're a teacher, if you're an educator, it's going to need more than just, what you've been taught. It's going to really need your humanity and your skills and your creativity. 100%. That's why I really like, I appreciate work that's done by people like yourself, and
thank you,
people like Mrs. Mabena. There's several other teachers that I know who are doing great work, because what you guys are doing is you are taking the way teaching is done forward, because one day your student is going to be listening to your podcast, learning about how to go about life. And now that means that every single... So as I was saying, the way actually students are actually taught every single day now is becoming a process that's changing, and we also as educators need to make sure we change that. And I actually admire what you guys are doing as well that side.
It's future based on what we're doing, and again, it's discouraging when you one man and the entire system works against what you want to see on the other side. For instance, I saw now they say people are becoming they were innovative. I say that's not innovation. That's rubbish innovation. For instance, there are a lot of standardized tests that needed to take place, and it couldn't happen because children couldn't go back to class because of COVID. And now I saw quite a lot of companies came in, the ExamNet and a whole lot of those guys. They came in and now they're saying they administering examination in the same way as it happened in the classroom. Then I'm like, that's kind of rubbish invention, because now you're saying you're bringing technology, but you're saying technology must maintain the past. Technology doesn't work like that. Technology get rid of everything that's not important and gives you a different way and an easy way of doing things. So we cannot maintain how we do things. We should do it differently, get a different perspective. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
That definitely, that's a true point. But I want to ask you something before I actually go into that point. Is that since you've joined education 10 years ago, has there been much of a rapid change, and how fast or how slow has it been? In your experience, in terms of adoption of digital learning and the like.
I would say for the past 9 years I've been in the system, and it was a slow change into digital space. Your government schools, the government schools, particularly back home in SA, in fact, government schools worldwide, even in the US, they're not excited. They do not embrace technology as they should. And people that are taking slightly a step or two steps forward, those are private schools and international schools. They like embracing technology. But the question is, why are they not embracing technology? It's a lot of things. If I start mentioning them, it's gonna look like I'm making excuses for them, because I hate excuses, and I don't believe in any kind of excuse. But if you look back, go South Africa. Gauteng, we had MEC of Education, Panyazali Sufi. You remember him? Yes, Panyazali Sufi came in.
Yes,
and he got tablets for the entire province.
And I've seen it.
What was rigid about it? It's the same thing that I've mentioned about exam.net. Is that the same kind of teaching, the same old kind of teaching that happened in class, you want to move it to the tablets. I think that's one of the things that made it fail, and two, attitude that we, the teachers, have to technology and fear. So
let me capture it right there where you say it, because I asked that question just to really drill into that emotion that you speak about when you say fear. One thing about it is I've realized that a lot of people in general, not just teachers, are really afraid of like what the prospect of technology means in relation to their jobs.
100%.
So whenever they think about technology, the immediate reaction is, oh no, that thing is going to replace my job. I can't bring it into my workplace. It's not safe.
Sure.
But what you're seeing with the pandemic is it's forcing a lot of teachers to actually take that up, whether you like it or not. And if you're not if you're not adapting to what's happening, you're going to actually be forced out of the system completely, because schools that are not digital at all struggle the most during the lockdown process.
Very true.
So their results are probably...
John, it's an understatement to say they struggle the most. They were out. Struggle is understatement.
Exactly.
I think
they weren't doing anything.
Sure.
6 to 8 months of no education. So now if we put this in the right perspective, it's not just about the school being closed. It's about how many students suffered because of that. And even if they can say that the pass rate was somehow, some way maintained, we can't say that what they were taught, they really learned. Because you can't be taught what you learn in 12 months within a period of 3 months.
Yeah.
That's not feasible. That's not practical at all. So it's the major loss that happens to the students at the account of things like fear. So if you're going to be a teacher, one thing that you need to do is actually to embrace technology so that you're able to use it and benefit from it. Because a teacher who knows how to use technology is very important to a school. Yeah. You can't get rid of a teacher who knows how to use technology, because they're going to teach students through the technology.
Yeah.
The technology can never teach. The technology can never teach without the teacher. Yeah. It only facilitates the process. But the longer 100%. That teachers keep fighting against the whole process, the more it becomes that a replacement rather than an extension of teaching as a process. And that's kind of like what I've been seeing, is that when it comes to schooling, it's that fear has really played a major hindrance on that as well. And that's what we need to tackle on is changing the perception of technology and just how people feel and see about it.
Sure. Yeah, that's very true, 100%. And I know, and I understand that you've done some work on the ground, introducing technology and some schools, Northwest, I think Free State.
Yeah.
So fear, when it came to teachers who had a lot of fear, how did you guys work with them? Because I've never worked with teachers at scale. I only work with, let's say, for instance, a private school is introducing technology into a system. They say, come help us. Then it's private school, it's organized. Everybody, it's more like forced to do it. If not, then you're out. But your space, how did you guys deal with fear?
That's a great question, man.
Not wanting to jump in.
That's a fantastic question. One thing is that we launched Qlick Education in 2016 officially to the public. And we've been pushing it ever since. And I'm not going to lie, we really actually met a lot of resistance. There was a lot of friction. Yeah. The process of implementation was very viscous. It took a long time for just even one school to adopt the program. Yeah. So basically, just to give you an overview of what we were proposing was a product called Qlick Education, which is for teachers and learners. But it's a private database, meaning that it's personalized per school. Each school has their own private database. Teachers can teach online, learners can learn online. But the thing about it is, with a lot of teachers, what we heard from them was a lot of, I don't know how to use technology to teach. Yeah. I don't think it's a good idea, because students might play with the cell phones inside classrooms. There was a lot of these sort of excuses as to why it was not a good idea. Yeah. But one thing that we always kept us on the road. Just
to add on that, not to disturb what you're saying, just to add on that, like what I realized that it's easy for teachers to go way and above whatever to make sure that they're going to sit and research how impossible it is to use technology in the classroom, instead of sitting and researching how possible and the results and the benefits of using technology in the classroom.
Yeah,
so
that's
just adding on that. Yeah.
Yeah, the bias, the bias of personality, as in you
Aha.
choose what you want to find out, you choose
Yeah.
what you want to believe.
Sure.
So it's like all that. With that, dealing with teachers is it's really just that process of
Yeah.
making them comfortable with using technology. But one thing that we always want to keep afoot is keeping teachers a part of the process, because really what we try to do with Qlick Education, which of is unlike other software and other type of e-learning platforms, was we also made it not just learner centric but also teacher centric as well.
Awesome.
We
Awesome.
try and focus on the teachers rather than just the learners, because we understand that teachers are also like learners in the process of learning how to use technology. They are learning as well, and they may be a little bit resistant at first,
Yeah.
but soon enough they grow up. They grow into the idea gradually. Some
Yeah.
slower than others, but my thinking is that if you haven't accepted technology at this point in time in
Yeah.
learning, you're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
That's just the way I see it. Doesn't It's going to hit you like a ton of bricks, where they say if you can't use technology inside a classroom, I'm sorry, we cannot work with you in the school, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's like what we're trying to push, is that at the backbone of pushing digital learning is that we're really pushing the prevention of job losses of teachers, because
Yeah.
that's the possibility.
Yeah.
Is teachers might actually wake up one day and realize that their skills are not sufficient, and that's the risk. That's one of the risks that we did. So that's really kind of some of the obstacles we met, was just the perception of technology with teachers. Learners were always really eager for anything new.
Always.
You're
Always.
always very, very excited. I remember in Rustenburg, we went to Geelode Park Secondary,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
yeah, I was actually on that day. I was actually marketing the product on my own, and then what I did was, instead of actually trying to push it through the teachers, I went to the learners directly, and I actually
Ah.
recommended the site directly to them. And all of them were really eager. That same night, a lot of them hit me back up on Facebook. They added me on Facebook, and they were really interactive with
Excited.
it. They were
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
And even when we checked the stats of the site, the usage was uptake. More and more students were using it because they were excited.
Yeah.
But a lot of the excitement would be dampened once the school got involved, because some teachers then would
Very
start
true.
feeling a little bit averse to the project, and that would make the whole process lethargic. So that slows everything down. But like I say, man, I look at this more of like a long-term project. You know, digital learning, I'm making sure that it actually is implemented successfully. I can't do it by just looking at within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
I
That's
need
very
to look
true.
a little bit further, and I need to really commit to the whole thing. So we're ready to do that, and we're committed to the process. So we're here for whichever teacher is ready to make the change, whether it's today or tomorrow, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. That's awesome work that you guys done. It's exciting to know that there's people somewhere in the part of the world in Africa that are aiming or having the same goal as you have, and adding to what you're saying, I think the one thing that teachers need to know, we teachers need to know, my experience working, I'm just doing implementing EdTech in my classroom. I've learned that the children that I teach and we're using technology together in classroom, they 3-4 steps ahead of me. So
Exactly.
if I'm coming in, I'm like, what, I wanna be in charge, I wanna be in control, I wanna guide and lead these guys. I'm gonna bore the guys.
Nope.
I'm gonna bore the
Nope.
guys.
Nope.
I'm like,
Nope.
we know that. We know that. It happened 5 years ago. Now we're here. You're still talking Facebook.
Yeah.
We're talking TikTok. Because I see now
Yeah.
parents, old people, they go on Facebook, and the guys are like, no, we don't want to hang around with the parents on Facebook. So you gotta go
No, no, no,
TikTok, you
no.
gotta go Instagram.
TikTok.
Sure. So once
They
we lose that kind of I'm in charge. I'm gonna show people the way. We're gonna lose as teachers.
Yeah, man, but it really is a new world, and a new world really requires a new way of dealing with things.
Yeah.
Even the way I grew up learning leadership, I found out that that way is not really the most effective way of leading in this age. So I still have to relearn the whole process of how I lead projects,
Definitely.
how I lead people, and how I'm also led in processes.
Definitely.
It really has to be a collaboration process. It's
Yeah.
never just one voice above every other voice type of thing. It really has to be an inclusive process, and it really has to be a transparent process. As you can see with ICT,
Sure.
nothing is a secret anymore. How
Nothing.
you do things. We're shooting a podcast, and somebody just came in the room, went to the refrigerator, opened the refrigerator, took something out, and left. There's no way you can hide that. There they are. They're taking food out the fridge. And
There's no
that's it.
way.
That's life. That's what people do. That's how we
Yeah.
live in. So everything is out in the open, and we also need to come out in the open with it.
That's 100%. That's 100% technology. Like, it's out in the open. Looking at WhatsApp, it was a lot of hoo-ha about 3-4 weeks ago when WhatsApp said now privacy settings and everybody shared. I stayed on WhatsApp because I know, like, I'm out in the open wherever I go, whatever I do, people can see, people know. I go to a restaurant and then I
Yeah.
get a message. Then Google is asking me, what do you think about the restaurant? Rate it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah. You can't even hide it
what am
anymore
I
now. It's like,
hiding? So people are still
what
saying,
are you hiding?
people are still
What are
obsessed
you
about
hiding?
being sacred, and there's nothing like that. We are out in the open. We are one big
Yeah,
world
but it's
without
also
borders.
a beautiful thing. We can be accountable for the things that we do.
Yeah,
Whatever
very true.
actions, whatever decision you take, you're accountable for it, because you can't hide behind "I didn't do it." You actually have to take full accountability of the things that you do, and I think that's actually a really dope thing to happen.
Sure.
Whenever we are held accountable for the things that we do and say, that means that the world would be a better place for us to exist and
Definitely.
coexist with each other. But
Definitely.
one thing is that technology is really offering us a lot of options, a lot of avenues,
Yeah.
and a lot of benefits, potential benefits. If
Yeah.
we just learn to use it the right way. And the thing about it is, we are in Africa. Africa is a continent with about 1.2 billion people. And we live in South Africa. It's about 60 million people living in South Africa. So basically, what happens is solutions no longer tender just to South Africa. They have to tender for Africa as a whole.
That's true.
Because one thing is that what happens in Africa as a whole
Yeah.
always transpires down to South Africa. And, we always need to be thinking of technology in terms of helping Africa as a whole. So
Yeah.
my thing was never to always bring the best or the latest technology, but to bring technology to the people who need it the most, and
Yeah.
to bring it in
Yeah.
a way that people can use it. That's what we believe technology could be in Africa, not just something that's cool to have, but something that's beneficial to have.
To have. That's very true. Um, 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 I'm gravitated towards the Qlick. I think we didn't do justice in talking about the Qlick.
Okay.
As I think it's beautiful thing ever. I went through the website. I checked it out, and I'm like, this is a beautiful thing to have.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So
Appreciate it,
so
bro.
so so I like you brother, like, break it down in pieces. Qlick. What is Qlick? What are you guys doing? How does it work? How do you work with schools and teachers and children just to get in there? Take
Qlick
education.
Education. Yeah. So basically, Qlick Education is an online platform where teachers can share homeworks, assignments,
Yeah.
tests, any type of schoolwork on the line, on the internet, basically.
Yeah.
So you can upload your tests, you can set up tests online, you can also mark assessments online. Students can write tests online. They can also study online, because we have different tools on the Qlick Education platform, like
Sure.
the calculators and periodic tables and the like. So students can actually study and do schoolwork on the platform itself. An assignment,
Yeah.
the student receives it. The parent will be able to see that a child received a school assignment from this this type of teacher.
That's
and
beautiful.
the parent will be able to follow up with the child at home as to, I see that you guys got an assignment on the Qlick Education platform.
Yeah.
Did you complete it? And then they can help them through the process. So one aspect that we're still working on right now is the visual learning, the video learning, the online lessons, the video lessons on the internet. So now what we're trying to do is incorporate online video lessons. So real-time live sessions where teachers will be able to teach, similar to how you would do on a Zoom, but with more educational capabilities. So those are the type of features that we amalgamate into the platform. But we do it particularly for the teachers, for the learners, and for the parents. Those are the
bringing the three together, because they have to work together.
Exactly.
That's perfect.
Yes, exactly. Because one thing is that they said while we were coming up with the program, there was an older gentleman who was advising me through the business procedures of the product. And he said to me, you have to include the people who are going to pay for this. And I thought, happening on the platform, and then they can get true value for money, seeing what their children are learning on the platform. Basically, we were just replicating the whole process of being on the school grounds on the internet. So basically how you go to school on a Monday morning, you go to the school gate, you go through the school gate, you greet the receptionist, you go to the staff room, greet your fellow colleagues, you might even greet the headmaster, and then you just prepare yourself for the teaching day. We just wanted to replicate that process where you find all those types of people on the platform, and we allow you to do everything of that sort on the platform as well, just to make sure that every single child will learn perfectly on the website, just as they can learn in school on the grounds. That's really what we based the hard facts of the program for. But we're really hoping that one day it'll be able to transform the way we teach and we learn in South Africa and in Africa as a whole. That's our game.
I think it's beautiful. As mentioned, it's a beautiful idea, just to move education forward via technology. And what stands out is that, like, you put in parents and children and teachers to say, you know what, none of you will work on their own. We need each other in this process. And again, definitely. So we need each other in this process. So the schools that you're working with, private schools, government schools, you're starting from primary school, secondary school?
Well, actually, initially we started with every single kind of school. We were open to working with every single kind of school. But to be blunt, I never really was. I never intended to do ICT development at all. I never fathomed that I would actually be doing Keanii or doing any type of digital work. You know, I myself, like many young Black South Africans, I was a part of the 3 top Black careers you can get, maybe like a doctor or a president. So those are my options, or those are my my recommendations. But basically what happened is, like I said, after grade 12, I just had an idea that I really followed kind of blindly. And then in 2016, I wasn't really sure how to go about implementing it. So we were just going school to school, whether you're primary, whether you're secondary, whether you're private, public, it didn't matter. We just approach you, and then we'd actually ask if you're open to working with us. But at this point in time, we've divided the platform between primary schools and high schools, particularly because the content is different, and also the technical skills or the technological understanding is slightly different. You know, even though even very young children are good with technology, they're not that interested in using technology as much as they are playing games on technology. So basically, we try and find a balance there and making sure that we divide the two, we delineate them so that a primary student doesn't get lost in what a high school student would easily navigate through. So that's the only division. But as far as private and public, we work with both parties. But to be honest, it's a little bit harder with the person or the party that has the say so, really the government at the end of the day. So it's a few principals who would be open to actually taking the step to actually speak to their circuit manager and ask them to say, we have this program that we really want to implement. May you allow us to? So ever since we started, we've worked with a few schools, just a handful of schools who have actually taken the program up on a yearly basis. But really, we were really trying to build it up and try and make sure that it really could managers with certain principles of public schools actually open to actually talking to circuit managers and asking them to allow them to implement the program within their schools. It's only a couple of principals who have been able to do that. And we really commend that sort of bravery. You know, it takes bravery to actually take that step. For a principal or a headmaster to actually go, let's go this direction. It really takes bravery because, you know, you're dealing with a lot of young children's futures. And one thing is that you just don't want to put anywhere where you're not sure it's going to benefit the students. So I really kind of understand their trepidation in that sense. But like I say, when we're working with time is that we really want to build up the trust. That's why we've been deliberate in our implementation and trying not to panic sell it to everybody and everywhere and get the most sales without making sure that we deliver value to all the schools that we're working with. You know, so with most schools that we're working with, we don't just set up the platform for them, we also as well, and then they actually create the whole online ecosystem around our. That's what we feel is like is needed to actually ensure that schools get the most out of our services, is that they get an all-round digital experience, making sure that they can actually use digital not just to teach and learn, but to also communicate with the rest of the world and to create the perception that they want with the world.
Awesome. It's exciting. I feel like inventions or work like this, it takes time for them. Like they remain on the ground for some time, so they can build up. But once they take off, you will see how much change they're going to make in the future. I believe it's Qlick. It's a beautiful work that you guys have put together. And what's the response from the independent private schools? Are they excited?
Yeah, actually, for a lot of with a lot of private schools, of course, you know, that's actually kind of where our bread is kind of buttered in a way, because they're the ones who actually really call us in. Okay, now present it to the teachers. Let's implement with the learners. Those are the ones that are actually really kind of taking it up. But like I say, we've a large portion of our work we've done in North. The overall reception has been. They love the innovation. They love the fact that there's something new, a new way of learning. But also on the other side, there's been some skepticism in terms of whether people are going to afford it. Because one thing that teachers usually bring up is that our learners can't afford data, or not every one of our learners has access to a computer and the like. So that's kind of like really where we're hoping we can actually develop, help most schools develop, because South Africa, like I said, with a population of 2 million for now, it's sitting at about so there's still a bit of a sizable portion of South Africa and Africa really that doesn't really have access to the internet and to smartphone technology, and that really means that there's a large part of society that's absent in this conversation of digital learning. And that's who we're trying to pull into the process. We're really trying to make sure that we find a way to actually go over those problems and make sure that they get they're resolved some way, somehow, you know. And that's a problem that really is going to need more than just us. It's going to need South Africa, is going to need the government, is going to need economy players, just to make sure that people are able to afford all these types of technologies, you know, smartphones, to afford data, to be able to afford computers and the like. That's really something that needs to kind of take a forefront to ensure that we keep up with the innovation and the growth of technology.
That's very true. Like this kind of massive changes, they don't only need one tiny, small sector of S in the corner
it's
to
really, really big numbers.
needs everyone to buy in, needs everyone's buying. But I believe in the near future, if you and you spoke about it too, that in future it's going to grow, and you guys are not just aiming for now 2-3 years, you're aiming at a long-term game. So long-term game, stay down, brother. Keep pushing, improve, and then improve it, and I believe it's gonna get to where you guys want it to get, to make change not only in South Africa but massive change in the continent. Again, John, I saw that you guys have book register, and what is it, and how does it work? And you guys have a store as well. What's in your store? What's happening in your store?
Yeah, definitely.
You guys, I'm
That's
it's beautiful
yeah,
what you
man.
do. It's exciting, in fact, for me. And I guess when I get
Yeah,
home,
if you
I'm gonna come around and see what you guys are doing, because it's very exciting.
I mean, if you're saying it's exciting, you can imagine how I feel. I
Sure,
mean, I won't lie. I'm a little bit very geeked up about it. In my way.
you should. You
I'm very
should.
excited. And when we speak about what is called book register, another one is called Keanii Store. So
Yeah.
basically, register, it's an online book database. So like for public schools, mostly that's kind of where we heard a lot of that complaint about students losing their textbooks and then they don't return them at the end of the year, and that costs most schools a lot of money just buying the same kind of textbooks each and every single year. So basically, the book registrar allows schools to actually register their books and ensure that they keep record of all the books that they give out. What that does is it keeps every single student accountable and their parents as well. And what we did is we created the system to replicate the books in PDF version.
I see.
Either listen to it, or they can actually read it on their cell phone on their way there. So we try and get whatever books that we get from schools, and then we replicate them into audio versions and ebook versions. And then we put it out there.
You brought life into your ordinary
different types of books in different formats.
Yeah.
So we offer book register on a subscription period per school. I think that's a perfect way that you put it. Like, we brought life into the library. We brought life into libraries just through the program, just by bringing voices on the pages, bringing the voices out of the pages and putting pictures into pages and digital pictures. That's why we said if a child can access a cell phone, then a child should be able to access a book just as easily. That's just to make sure we make reading an accessible thing. People love reading their timelines and their news feeds and their whatnot. That's cool and everything, but don't forget to read a book too. Knowledge is always power.
Sure. And is this on subscription fee? Is it school subscription or individual the user's subscription?
Actually, we created it for school subscriptions, but actually we're looking to open it to individual subscriptions. Basically, the last time I spoke to some of my technicians, we were thinking that we could offer it maybe on a 99 Rand a year basis, where that for 99 Rand, you can get access to as many books as you can find on the platform. And we thought that wouldn't be too much of but that's something we're still yet to finalize. Really, that's what I am personally leaning towards. So I still have to talk with the rest of the team and ask around and find out what the rest of the team thinks about it. And then we'll take it from there. But for now, we're still offering it on a school by school basis, where a school subscribes to the service. And then when they subscribe to it, they get access to all the different types of books that they need. They just create a special request for all the books that they want primarily. And then we combine that with a secondary list of our own books that we recommend. And then from that point on, we present to them in all formats, be it ebook, be it audio version. And then from there, students and teachers can download them alike, which is actually a cool way to actually get people to start reading.
Yeah. Oh, that's you creating access for children to read. Once they have phones, then they're able to read.
To that.
Say again?
let me tell what you just. You see what you just said right there.
Yes.
We're solving the problem for access. That's our main thing.
Yeah.
Access. We're just solving the problem of access. We want to create access to education, access to technology, access to the best empowerment. That's what we try to do. That's what really Keanii tries to build. Try to create access to technology, because sometimes people don't even know a certain product exists.
Yeah.
There's people in South Africa today. If you ask them what's VR, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. Like, what are you talking about? What is VR? What is? And after you explain to them, they're going to say to you, what does that have to do with me?
Yeah.
That's because they always think that the technology won't benefit them in any way. So that's the problem of access, the lack of access to knowledge, the lack of access to technology, the lack of access to education about these types of things. Because if people knew what technology could do for them, they would do a lot more with the technology they have. But they can't, because they don't have access to the right information. And that's what we're solving. I thank you for giving me a little leeway to throw in a little Keanii philosophy in there.
Thank you, my friend. That's what we need. We need people on the ground that see what people that see the gaps between the people on the ground. And if people like you are there and you see, and then you create a bridge between the people, then you're doing amazing work. You need platforms. You need to be on CNN and speaking about this, not tiny corner podcast KG. You need to be on that platform.
Hey, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, my brother. Let me tell you something. I received your message, because we were already talking before you actually made the request. But when I received your request, right?
Yeah.
I had already been checking out your work, and I was like,
thank you, man.
Hell yes. Hell yes, we're doing this podcast. We're going to be on this amazing platform. And that was because a lot of the conversations that you cover, right? Now, a few people or a couple of people might know them. But look at the next 5 to 10 years. Next 5 to 10 years, the information is so important, ubiquitous. And that's what I mean, is that I saw that value, is that the work you're doing is not just short-term work. It's also going to be beneficial the long term. You're actually capturing history. And if not you, then who else would do it, bro? You are the one who's chosen for this.
Thank you, man. And thank you for that. It's a long run. Put your head down and then grind and create things for people in the future. As we on book register, John, how's the response been? How people embracing you, schools?
Actually, it's been sparse. Yeah. But for now, we haven't really put some advertising legs behind it yet. But that's because it's still a fairly new product. Just only offered it on a trial basis to just a few select clients. But like I said, the reception was pretty good. Was good enough to make us actually think that we should to market.
Yeah.
So basically, with the few schools that we worked with, they said it was a service that they actually needed.
Yeah.
So we figured that we should really give it to the type of schools who need it the most. And really a lot of schools that are mostly located in rural areas or township areas.
I've got just a few more to go, but now we have to get to this point. Your ICT implementation in from K to 12 schools, man. I read that article. It was long. Usually I don't enjoy reading long things online. I prefer printing things out and just sit and read outside. But I read your article, ICT implementation, and 3 paragraphs. I'm like, hey, this is beautiful. And I went in and I read. I read it about 2-3 times. Like, this is MBA of ICT implementation from the start to that point where you need to be as a school implementing ICT in the school. The challenges that you're going to get, the attitude, all the stakeholders. Like, you broke it down. How did you come about that? How did you come about that goal? That's MBA, man. Maybe in the future, think about.
I mean, I appreciate that.
Think about maybe create an online course based on that article, and then put it on Udemy or any of those. It's beautiful, man. It's gold. I love it.
Ivan, thank you, Brayaka. Thank you. I thank you. I thank you so much. Those are kind words. And basically, that was a result of heavy, extensive research and a lot of downtime, because I kind of had to sit down and really think out a lot of the information as well.
Yeah.
I had to kind of speak to my mother works at a school. So I kind of used that to my advantage, and I asked her to take me with her to school.
Yeah.
And then I kind of sat down with a couple of teachers just to get, kind of on the ground insight in terms of how digital implementation would work and some of the obstacles that would come. So I kind of talked to some teachers, did research, did a lot of online research, did a lot of physical research, real-time research, a lot of qualitative research. I talked to a lot of different types of teachers, and I also checked out a lot of LinkedIn articles about education in general. And I saw some reading material from like Kenya, from Saudi Arabia, from Normandy, from all these different types of areas. And I actually realized that a lot of different implementation strategies centered around a few certain details. And that's really what I tried to capture, the common details amidst all these schools that are doing well and all these countries that are doing well with ICT implementation. Like Kenya is doing well in terms of ICT implementation from my research. Also Rwanda. I just checked out a few of their articles. Some schools are doing kind of well in terms of the implementation, but also some schools are actually, some countries are trying to, but then they have few defects that are not allowing the programs to shine. But then I just figure it's just a barrier of the know-how. It's a new process. Not everybody knows how to go about it yet, and that's kind of what prompted me to write the article. Was that there was no guidance, no guideline in terms of what to expect, how to deal with it, what you're going to need, and how to solve it. And that also made the process of our implementation of Qlick Education very simple. Because what we usually do with a lot of our clients is that before we start the process, we send them the article along with other reading materials. We send them the article so that they can get acquainted with the process of ICT implementation. Us to actually write this type of article and then put it out, just so that people can actually learn and benefit from what we know, just as we do.
That's power. Learn and benefit what you know. So to those people who haven't read the article, what are you putting out there? What do you want them to know? What is that key thing that you have in the back of your mind? Say, what, I'm creating this, so because I want to put this out to people. What do you want people to take from that article? It's beautiful. I read it. So for just people who are listening to this conversation and they haven't read the article.
With the article, what I hope to achieve is that digital learning is very possible in the South African context. Digital learning is very possible in the South African context. That's the one message that we want to carry across. Because, like I said, from experience in working with education and book registering, working with different schools on different projects, we realized was a lot of the barriers had to do more so with the mindset, with the mentality, with the perception in South Africa and within Africa. And really, technology has the potential to be an equalizer. Imagine after all the struggles the world has faced, all the oppressions, injustices that have occurred, we could really use technology as a balancing factor, and we can do that by making sure that people see that potential and making sure that they understand that. But a large part of that starts with the knowledge. You need to know that you do it before you do it. You need to know how to do it before you do it. That's the best way to go about doing things. And that's kind of what prompted us to write this and put it out there. We're just hoping that someone somewhere out there is actually applying digital learning in their school, in their organization, in their institution, and they're actually getting true value. They're really benefiting from it. That's all we can really hope for from writing that article,
Yeah, it's beautiful article. So if you're listening to this podcast, you haven't seen that article, please go to LinkedIn and check John. You will get it. Or I'll just put a link in and just below, so people can have a read, so they can acquaint themselves with the knowledge that's in there.
I appreciate you, brother.
Personally, I feel that's an MBA, man. MBA.
I appreciate you for that, man. I appreciate you.
We coming now to career guidance, because we went a step ahead, and there's still our sisters and brothers behind us who are looking to go into different workspaces, and because of where they are in their lives, they might be exposed only to your traditional professions like your teaching, your doctor, your nursing. Yeah, and when you start talking about ICT consultation or ICT, people have no idea what you're talking about. So just tell them what are you doing how's your day looking like?
Well, one thing is that with ICT is that you really have to kind of be embedded in the work. So you have to use a lot of technology.
Yeah.
So really I'm either on my phone or on my cell phone. I'm either on my phone or on my laptop. Usually that's kind of where one of the devices you'll always kind of find in or around me. But on a daily basis, say I usually wake up early in the morning, around 5, 6.
Sure.
Usually when I get up in the morning, we go for presentations, we go do pitches. So we go set up meetings with like schools and prospective organizations, just prospects. Usually we're done with meetings around 12, around 1 p.m. And then 1 p.m., that's when I get back to, content creation. I get back to, getting back with the team. I work with a small team of technicians. So basically, I usually spend a lot of time with them and just exploring ideas with them and convincing them that, it's a good idea. Let's create this app, or let's create this website, or let's create this new platform. And, my technicians are kind of the opposite of me. They're kind of like the more down to earth. Let's just do one thing at a time. Me, I'm kind of like, come on, guys, let's do all of this.
Let's do one, let's do 2 and 3 and 4.
One thing is that, let's do all of them. Let's go, man.
Yeah.
So basically, in the afternoons, I spend a lot of my time just brainstorming ideas, and then drafting up content, and then just handling the administrative work of Keanii, really, passing it around a little bit, when you're still you still what's traditionally called startup level, a lot of those types of tasks are designated to me, just to make sure that they're done, and then they're done correctly. So basically, I'm usually finished at around about 6 p.m., with a lot of content creation. And then I try to check my social media every day, but I'm not always successful. Some days, I'm not on social media, but most of the time I do log in back into social media just to keep track. Other days I'm too tired, but on the days where I have the energy, I actually get on social media, and then I try to interact with as many people as possible. And then I just rinse and repeat the process. One thing is that I always just make sure that we're doing presentations, and that we're doing that the administrative tasks are done, because those are kind of the two fuels of the business, just to ensure that the systems and processes are running smoothly, and making sure that we're always talking to our customers and clients. That's one thing that we're always just trying to focus on. And that's sometimes very difficult, but it's always rewarding. It always feels good when a client gets exactly what they want. When they're like, yes, this is what I needed. Thank you, man. Thank you. That feeling, there's no feeling better than that feeling, to know that we actually gave them exactly what they needed at that point in time. So my day is centered around usually just that, meetings and administration.
Awesome. So we reached the last part of our conversation, and it's been a fruitful, awakening learning experience. I've learned so much from you, man. Like so much from you. So the last part is
likewise.
Thank you, man. So the last part is where I'm going to mention a word, and you're going to rant as much as you as you can. Just do it.
Like, how do you mean?
Like I'm going to say the word, and whatever that comes to your mind, you just speak it.
Okay.
You get it?
Hey, yo.
You ready?
You want me to get in trouble?
Say whatever you want, man.
Okay.
We're free. Okay. There's freedom of speech in here. Okay. So we're starting. EdTech. Sure.
The future. Period. The future.
Awesome. Tech in African languages.
Oh, a must. It's a must. Listen, if one thing is that most African students is one thing that I should never neglect to mention. African students often find themselves learning 2 subjects in one classroom every single day. Is that they are learning English and they are learning whatever subject that they are in class for. And that's actually a problem, because if your natural language is English, it's not a problem. But if your real language is Venda or is Zulu or Shona or Xhosa or Ndebele, then it should be beneficial to be taught in those languages, because not only is it empowering, it actually makes it very easy to understand things, because you are speaking your home language even in your local neighborhood. Now you go to school and you're taught in a foreign language. When you go back to your local neighborhood, it's almost like you leave one world, you go to another world, and then you go back from that world back to another world, simply because of the barrier of language. Language changes everything.
100%. I agree 100%. Next one, tech benefits. Anywhere, school, work, anywhere.
Efficiency, speed, no secrets.
100%. No secret. There's no hiding things in there.
I know the wives will love this time. The wives will love that.
And last one, John. Tech infrastructure in Africa.
Ooh, poor.
One word, poor.
Poor. That I mean, I could try and sugarcoat it, but I think it's very hard to hide it. Tech infrastructure in Africa as a whole is very poor. Like there's very few areas that actually have free Wi-Fi connection. I mean, I can't even think of many places that have free Wi-Fi connection. You find yourself having to pay for whatever internet connection that you're using. And most villages don't have internet connections. That means that most Africans aren't on the internet. Even some areas, there are schools that don't have Wi-Fi connection. Like they actually have to use their own data. And that's kind of what's creating a lot of problems in South Africa, is just the lack of technical infrastructure.
John, thank you so much for spending time with us, sharing your jam, sharing what you're doing in your space. We're wishing you all the best, man, in the next few years. We will come check in then from you and continue to come see what you're doing in your space. We're wishing you all the best.
I appreciate it, man. And before we part ways happily, it's for me to actually thank you personally for actually welcoming me to your platform, because like I say, I actually meant it when I said I checked out your work. I reference it often because I actually I don't see a lot of people doing the type of thing that you're doing. And for you to actually include me in your platform, it's actually inspiring me to actually do more, to know that there's actually people like you who recognize the work that I'm doing. And I'm actually hoping that one day we get to come together and actually, work on some sort of project or partnership that actually will benefit us really. I think that's possible.
I'm always open. So once you have something in mind, or I have something in mind, then we'll just talk.
No problem, man. I look forward to talking to you again.